Talking with Aviva Friedman from Binghamton City Council, representing the 4th District.
Okay, let's say a middle-class person feels like, okay, if I can call the police, if I feel unsafe, they'll come into my neighborhood and they'll protect me, if someone came in and robbed my house. Whereas that's not true for everyone. And so it's hard for people who, we have to take a different perspective and really listen to people who we haven't been listening to for a long time. So if we start admitting that this system, the policing system that keeps some of us safe, is actually really dangerous for our neighbors, that can be really hurtful. It doesn't feel good to think about that. So I think it's just easier for these mainstream media corporations to, focus on it when it's easy to be outraged, but then not take it the step further to that really difficult step of actually making meaningful changes in the way that we view race and racial relations in America, and also the way that we police our citizens.
Good morning, WNBF. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
It's Michael Vasquez.
Hey, Michael.
How are you doing today?
I am well, thank you.
And it sounds like you got a good rest on your vacation there, and I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I was listening to Aviva Friedman, who was speaking about the police, and I think she needs to apologize to our police department because it was rather insulting what she said. And I didn't notice anyone correct her on this, and so I think it should be mentioned. During her conversation with you, she mentioned that, or insinuated in her fantasy, that the police have some different way of interacting with the public based on their income. As she mentioned, it was the middle class can expect one kind of thing, but people who are poor would expect something else, which I think is a bit of a virtual signaling way of putting in race into this by making an insinuation on who's poor and who's rich. And I think that's absolutely wrong, because there's absolutely no proof of that. There is no way to say that our police treat people differently based on their income, which they have no idea about when they go out there, nor do they do it on someone's race. They enforce the law as the law is. But considering that she's a member of Plot and she supports Plot, I'm not surprised that she came out with that. In fact, I wish at least we know where she stands. There are other.
Well, she's entitled to her opinion, as you are. So, what do you think, if anything, should be done to address law enforcement issues? Mayor Richard David said he is creating a coalition to review the Binghamton Police Department's policies and procedures. Are you in favor of that?
Well, to start with, it isn't an opinion. It's a fact. Police don't treat people differently based on their income level or their color or religion or anything else. There is no fact on that here in Binghamton or pretty much anywhere in the country.
So what do you think about Mayor David establishing a coalition to review the Binghamton Police Department's policies and procedures?
Well, that's one of the steps that we can take. There's always room to improve our police, although I do have a question. Who is the Change Coalition? They were created 2 weeks ago. Who?
No, I'm asking about Mayor David. Let's talk about what Mayor David announced in response to Governor Cuomo's executive order. Let's address that. What did you take from what the mayor says he expects to happen between now and April 1st?
Actually, you changed the question because you asked me about the Change Coalition.
I didn't ask about the Change Coalition. I didn't bring up the Change Coalition. I'm talking about the coalition that Mayor David, does he call that a Change Coalition? He just said it was a coalition to review the police department's policies and procedures. So that's the question. What do you think about the coalition that Mayor David said he was going to establish?
Actually, he's had conversation, according to the news that have reported on this, he had a conversation with an organization called the Change Organization.
He didn't say anything about that in his news release. He said he plans to establish a coalition to review the police department's policies and procedures. As you may have heard, Governor Cuomo is mandating a comprehensive review of existing practices for all New York State police departments. So in response to the executive order earlier this month, Mayor David said his office will set up a stakeholder coalition. So, in your view, who should be part of the stakeholder coalition?
Okay, I was trying to get to that. And the answer is, I believe that he's doing a very good job in speaking to various leaders. He's already speaking to religious leaders, which I think is important. He's speaking to business owners. So far, it's been a group of black business owners. I think he should expand that, and I think he is doing that. This is the first of several conversations he's having on it. And I think that several of the community leaders, outspoken individuals in our political realm here in this region, should be spoken to about this. And I think that we should have some of the elected officials show up too, although the elected officials would be more voluntary just because they have political biases that are involved in this. So I think he's making a start, and I think it's a good thing. There's never a problem with reviewing our police and making them more efficient, because government overall is inefficient, and we need to improve that. So he's doing a fantastic job. I do have a question, though, when there are certain groups that come into this with unknown agendas, that are unknown individuals, that the media has not investigated, and they have not come out and forthright in letting us know who they are. That's a question. I also think it's a problem when we have elected officials who are either hiding from the public on their support of defunding the police, which means essentially, to some degree, disbanding the police, which I think is absolutely horrible. We can only look at Seattle's Chaz. We can look at New York just over the last, week and a half, 108 shootings, I believe it was, just in New York City, because we disbanded 400 police officers and part of defunding. And that's been chaos. In fact,
what do you think should be done in Binghamton between now and April 1st? The mayor says he wants to come up, or he needs to come up with an action plan to meet the executive order that was issued by Governor Cuomo. So between now and April 1st, what do you think should be done?
We start off by trying to identify where are the areas that our police can be more effective. Is it a matter of training? Is it a matter of hiring? Is it a matter of review? Is it because laws are not specific enough? Let's find out what the cause is. Let's go to the root. Let's stop playing this game of let me appease people based on some superficial thing. And I don't think Mayor David is doing that. I do think Governor Cuomo is doing that. I do think people like Aviva Friedman, Plott, Bob West, or many others are using this as a political football to advance their political agendas. First, let's deal with the problem at hand. Where's the root of the problem? If you're asking me where the biggest part of the root of the problem is, in our region, jobs. We have a lot of people who are under a lot of pressure because they don't have jobs. Look at what's happened with COVID. Even for myself, my business closed that I was working at just last Thursday. And that business closed because of the loss of sales because of COVID. And now I'm unemployed. How many other people are going through that? How many more people will go through that over the next 3 months? How are we addressing that? That is a pressure that's being put onto this region. And when we have that, more people who are upset, who are under pressure financially because they don't have a job, they're not sure how they're going to pay their bills or how they're going to keep their home, feed their families, well, then that causes some people to make bad decisions, which then increases crime and causes problems, which then creates a conflict with police officers who are trying to enforce the law.
Have you been for a ride-along with any Binghamton police officer?
Yes, actually I have. And I recorded it and I published it. It was great.
When?
We did have several. It was a year and a half ago, to be honest.
Yeah. Was that the only one?
That's the only one so far.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will you do more this summer?
Yes, I will.
And will you record them?
Yes.
All right. I'll look forward to watching.
Yes. And I, again, want to insist, Aviva Friedman stated an untruth when she said that the middle class or whites. Or
that's her opinion. She's entitled to her opinion. You're entitled to your opinion.
That is not an opinion.
Well, I mean, it's her opinion.
It's not an opinion when an elected official says our police department is treating people differently on the basis of color and income. That's not true.
Okay. I still say it's an opinion, but I can't tell you. We're not doing a fact check program here. It's a program with people giving opinions. 1052, live and local, WNBF, WNBF.com.